How do you want to attack this? Someone give me one method. Yeah, Jacob?
We multiply the 2 times t over t and the 7 times t.
You could, but you don't need to. You could. Absolutely, you could do that. I want to give you the quickest way you can. There's two methods. You can either work on them separately, which is what you're proposing to do, or you can multiply everything by the common denominator, the LCD of both. What's the LCD up here? T. What's the LCD down here? Same thing. So what do you want to multiply this whole thing by? T. So if you multiply both the top and the bottom by t, what's 3 over t times t? 3. What's 2 times t? Down here, what's t times 4 over t? 4. And what's, minus what? Done. All done. When the LCD is really straightforward, just multiply everything by the LCD on the top and the bottom. What is this? T over t is just a fancy form of what? 1. It's just 1, right? If you multiply by 1, are you changing anything? No. This is the simplest way. Are there other methods that are just as valid? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Nate?
Wait, so then
Minus 7 times t. What happens to the t's? Cancels. Cancels. What are you left with? You're left with that. Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. This. So if that's x plus 4, what's downstream? Sorry, if this one's x minus 4, what's the other one? I love it when that happens. When it actually, I say the answer to the question. That's always nice. What about time? What do we know the relationship is between distance, rate, and time? Because when you're going upstream, the current is working against you, and when you're going downstream, the current is working with him. So t equals what? Yeah, you're going to do that a lot, right? So what is it? 24 over x minus 4. And what's the other one going to be?
40 over
X plus 4. And what does it say about the two times? It says that they're equal. So therefore, 24 over x minus 4 has to be correct. So is that something you could solve? Fraction equals a fraction. What can you do? Yeah. And this right here, you should be super comfortable. X minus 4. How about you finish that right now? Do that right now. Who got x equals 16? Raise your hand. What are the units on this? I think it's k, kilometers per hour. Yep. Is that a realistic boat speed? Yeah, it's realistic boat speed. You're doing with this one? What's your first step? What's step 1? Why? Why are you doing that? But what are you finding when you find what k can't be? You're finding the... I've literally asked you to throw out 3 different quizzes. What's step 1? You said it. Find the domain. Domain. Domain, domain. I've asked you that on several quizzes. What's the first thing you do? Find the domain. You're going to do certain things to find the domain, but your first goal, domain. So in order to find the domain, what should we do first? Factor. Thank you. So you have 2 over k minus 1 minus 4k plus 1 all over. Oh, what is that right there? That's the difference of squares. So what does it factor into, Nate? What does this one factor into, Nate?
K minus 1.
Yep, times
K plus 1.
Correct. Now, what are the values that k can't be?
K cannot equal -1.
Yep, so that's one of them. So k such that k cannot be -1 or what? 1, correct. So the domain is everything besides -1 and 1, which you very accurately said. The reason we find that is so we can make sure our answer is in the domain. Nice. Okay, so this is an equation. So what are we going to multiply by? What's step 2? Multiply by the LCD. So we need to find the LCD. Can someone tell me what the LCD is? K plus 1. We're multiplying all 3 of these. So we take this thing right here and we multiply it how many times in? Times 3 different things. So you end up with 2 times k what?
Plus 1.
K plus 1. But then when you multiply this one, the only thing that's left is plus 1 minus equals -1 times k minus 1. A bunch cancels each time. Right? Take a look at that. And I skipped a step, but are you okay with the canceling? Do you see what happens there? You've done it a bunch. Are you okay with that? So now is it just cleaning it up? Do that for me right now. Go. Who got k equals 2? Anybody get k equals 2? Anybody? No? Okay. 2k plus 2 minus 4k minus 1 equals negative k plus 1. Negative 2k plus 1 is equal to negative k plus 1. That goes away. So end up with negative 2k equals negative k. So negative k equals 0. So k equals 0. Sorry. Ah, careful. So after you find that final answer, what do you check? You have to check two things. First thing you have to check is what? Is it in the domain? And guess what? It is. It is absolutely in the domain. Yup. In domain. And you could, if you have time, you could check your answer by plugging it in. It does work. I'll guarantee you it does work. It is 0. I mean, you get a little bit hesitant because when you see 0 as an answer, you think, oh, it can't be 0. Well, can the answer be 0? Yeah. Sure. Can you divide? What is this? What type of fraction is it?
Rational.
It is rational. All fractions are rational. Not all, but all the ones we look. This is a complex fraction, 7.3 complex fraction. What method do you want to use? Do you want to simplify individually, or do you want to multiply by a common denominator? Let's multiply by a common denominator because, again, what's the LCD up here? And what's the LCD down there? So what do you multiply the top and the bottom by? So you have a over b times a over b. So what do you end up with? B minus over
AB minus
this times this. What cancels?
Oh,
A what?
So B minus
A squared minus b squared. Because what is AB times this? The b cancels. But what are you left with? A times A. That's where the a squared comes from right there. And then the same thing happens, but it becomes b squared. Are you done? No, because what can you do to the bottom? Yeah, it's the difference of. So it's A, what is it?
A minus B plus A.
Yeah, you do A minus B times A plus B. And you're so close to being able to cancel, right? But what did I tell you? Oh, you can. There's one thing you can do. We've talked about this. What is this equal to? What is that equal to? That is negative 1. So what is this equal to? Negative 1 over A plus B. Very good. Yay.
Would it be wrong if you had left it?
Like this?
Yes.
Yes. If it said fully simplify, yes, it would not be complete. It would not be wrong. It just would not be full credit. You've done all the right work, but you haven't finished. You need to remember that Q plus R is equal to the opposite. Sorry. You need to remember that Q minus R is equal to the opposite of R minus Q. You need to remember that. You can flip it as long as there's a minus. So therefore, if you divide both sides, you get Q minus R over R minus Q is equal to negative 1. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 5 minus 3 is 2. Doesn't matter what you have, it's going to be